Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure to be here today for this very important intervention. For the most part, I am sure, every one of us here woke up with a roof over our head in surroundings with which we have grown accustomed and amongst persons with whom we are familiar. Our fingers are more likely insufficient to count the number of persons for whom our lives and presence in their lives are meaningful and are a blessing. Unfortunately, we live in a world where for many, especially women and children, this is not the case. Victims of human trafficking face immense challenges even after being rescued, and it is quite easy for improper housing to exacerbate their vulnerability and lead to re-victimization. It is precisely for this reason that this shelter management training, with its focus on survivors of human trafficking, is of such profound significance. The horrendous experience of human trafficking has stripped so many individuals of their basic human rights and dignity, leaving them in desperate need of protection, rehabilitation, and a secure place to live. Sadly, even in their desperation, they are also exploited. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that we must intervene. And quite apart from the psychological trauma they would have experienced, survivors often lack financial resources due to the exploitation they have endured. And of course, without stable housing, they remain susceptible to further exploitation by traffickers or other criminal elements. Similarly, isolated or inadequate living conditions can prevent survivors from connecting with others who understand their experiences. Loneliness and lack of emotional support can also make them vulnerable to manipulation and coercion. Adequate housing accommodation that is properly managed, therefore, is not just a basic need. It is a critical component of a survivor's journey towards healing and resilience. By properly managing the shelters in which we are able to place these survivors, we can reduce the risk of re-victimization and empower survivors to reclaim their lives. The work you are signing up to do, and I'm speaking to the participants, cannot be done by ordinary people looking for a dollar. This is work that answers the call of God to look after the powerless and forgotten. And I truly want to express my appreciation and admiration to all of you for answering this call. As the Minister of Social Development and Family Services, with the remit to assist in the provision of this crucial component of our survivors' recovery, I therefore consider it both a privilege and an obligation to stand before you in support of initiatives aimed at providing shelter, protection, and rehabilitation to those who have fallen victim to this atrocity. And while we understand that human trafficking in all its forms continues to be a global challenge, we must establish systems that provide a proactive response to victims of trafficking. We must collaborate and we must commit to protecting and preserving their human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, this shelter management training is anticipated to equip participants with the skills necessary to understand and address the peculiar needs for the shelter of survivors. And I am advised that the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services was afforded the opportunity to provide significant inputs into this course of training through our contribution during the training needs assessment exercise. And this partnership with IOM is consistent with our mandate to empower the powerless and our government's commitment to ensuring that no one is left behind. This training program is no talk shop, but represents a demonstration of our collective resolve to create a safer, more compassionate world. And the shelters we aim to construct and develop in the ministry, as well as the skills this training is intended to impart, are essential components in the process of healing and empowering survivors of human trafficking. So our goal, therefore, is beyond just offering refuge. Our goal is to ensure that not only the physical survivors, the physical safety of our survivors, but also ensure that there are adequate nutrition and access to proper health services to address the physical health and other issues resulting from the trafficking experience. Additionally, the shelters will offer the trauma-informed care as well as facilitate the rest and recovery so important for survivors to heal from this trauma. As a key stakeholder, the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services believes that in providing shelter for survivors of trafficking, we are not merely displaying an act of empathy, but in fact, we are shaping a blueprint for a complete recovery process for victims. A safe and secure environment for survivors is a foundation upon which they can rebuild their lives, receive the necessary support, and be empowered with the skills necessary to assimilate into society. All of this is grounded in the affirmative policy direction of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, as we continue to collaborate with organizations like IOM and USAID to advance efforts to reduce and eventually eliminate trafficking in all its forms. And this action plan places the concerns of the management of shelters for adult and child survivors as part of the remit of the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. So recognizing the crucial role that shelters or transitional homes play in supporting survivors of human trafficking as they navigate the process of recovery and reintegration into society, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has articulated very comprehensive plans to establish various shelters which are expected to provide a safe haven and temporary housing for victims of trafficking. Furthermore, I am also pleased to inform you that the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services is establishing a transitional facility to accommodate women who are victims of trafficking. I want to encourage all participants of this program to engage actively, share your experiences, and embrace the diverse perspectives that are brought to the table. The fight against human trafficking requires a multidimensional approach, and the success of our endeavors lies in our ability to listen, to discern, and collaborate effectively. I must also congratulate the International Organization for Migration for its consistent dedication to addressing human trafficking internationally and developing counter-trafficking strategies that will ultimately result in the prevention of human trafficking, the protection of victims, and of course, the prosecution of offenders. I also commend the Ministry of National Security led by the esteemed Minister Fitzgerald Hines. I also want to commend Her Excellency Candace and USAID for your commitment to supporting interventions that will help victims of trafficking. So on behalf of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed on behalf of all survivors, I wish to assure you of my personal support and that of the entire ministry, which I am privileged to lead. And as I close, let us remember that our commitment to providing shelter for survivors is not just a legal or moral obligation. Well-managed shelters provide a foundation for survivors to heal, regain autonomy, and reintegrate into society. And in so doing, we will be adding our time, our talent, and treasure to building a nation where every individual is treated with dignity, respect, and kindness. And of course, where we leave no one behind. I thank you, and may God bless you.